Hi, this is Fish and welcome to Fish Picks. Today we're going to be learning all about small format interchangeable cores and how to pick them. So let's get into it. So last week I received a lovely little care package from Doctor Hogmaster, aka Hogmaster 13, which included some pins and springs that I needed, a Lotto 410, my first padlock, and this rather fetching looking Freedom Series 9AR padlock. Hogmaster explained that this is essentially a rebranded padlock, and it comes as part of a modular lock range with dual ball bearings to prevent shimming and a quick change shackle held in place by an Allen key. But what makes this lock so interesting is the core. SFIC, or Small Format Interchangeable Cores, are often used when a company or an individual wants to be able to quickly change out a series of locks with minimal expense or trouble. These locks come with two keys. One operates as any normal padlock key would, so it's typically referred to as an operator key, and the other, which has completely different bitting, is used to remove the core. This is the control key. By turning this key clockwise, the core shifts just slightly and can then be removed. Looking inside the lock, you can see that the core is held in place by two prongs and by a shelf in the lock body which is proud of the rest of the moulding. This traps the core when the keyway is in the upright position because it has a corresponding protrusion. When the control key is turned, this protrusion at the back of the cylinder is retracted, allowing the core to be smoothly extracted. So what's going on inside this lock which allows this double key system to work? Well, the answer is that it's been pinned to allow for a double shear line. In this case we have a 6-pin cylinder, and each stack is comprised of 3 pins. We have a key pin, sitting on top of which we have a build-up pin, and then finally a top pin. The stacks are arranged so that the total height of each is identical, but the relative heights of the build-up and top pins differ. So by bringing all of the key pins to the operator line using the operator key, the padlock will open normally. But if instead we use the control key, we'll then bring all of the build-up pins to a new shear line or control line, and this will cause the core to be released instead. This is an elegant solution, but you can imagine how careful you need to be when gutting this kind of lock, because if you lose track of the order of each stack, you'll be in real trouble when it comes to reassembling it again. This also makes picking this kind of lock quite a challenge, because depending on the bitting involved, you can never quite be sure which shear line you're picking towards. Let's take a look at this in a little more detail. Here we have the pin stacks in their pre-picked state, and we have the two shear lines indicated. For ease of demonstration, let's assume that the binding order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we now exert upward pressure on the first stack, we'll need to just touch number 1 to get a click as the top pin clears the first of the two shear lines. When we come on to pick the second stack though, you'll notice that the top pin has already cleared the first shear line, and so when we apply upward pressure this time, the click will come when that pin clears the second shear line instead. So now we have two pins which have been set but on different shear lines, and we won't be able to effect an open until we've reset it and tried again. The good news is that once you have brought all of the pins to the same shear line, either can be used to secure an open. The operator line will open the lock immediately, of course, but if you pick to the control line instead, once you remove the core, it's just a case of creating some clockwise torque on the prongs, and the actuator will release the shackle anyway, which is what I was able to achieve by single pin picking this lock. I used a Lock Tools teardrop profile for this open, but I had good success with my Peterson's gem and a multi-pick short hook too. Another option is to rake the pin stacks instead. This requires more vigorous and aggressive raking than you're probably typically used to, while exerting firm upward pressure. In this case I'm using the Echo Quint cycloid rake from Lock Tools, and as you can see, I again got an open on the control shear line relatively quickly. And just to prove a point here, I used exactly the same tools this time and applied the same raking technique, and yet I secured an open at the operator shear line instead, so the core remained in place but the shackle was released, which just demonstrates that you never quite know what is going on inside an SFIC, particularly when applying the kind of random pin movements that raking will produce. So, a really interesting design which was a lot of fun to play with. A big thank you to Doctor Hogmaster for sending this my way, to all of you for continuing to support the channel, and until next time, take good care.